Okay, welcome to the first video in this series where I'm simplifying your camera and making videography not so scary. As a reminder, I'm using the Sony a7 IV for all my demonstrations, but most of these concepts carry across all models and brands of modern cameras. Okay, so let's talk about a camera. What are its main components? First of all, we have the shutter, and you'll find it by removing this cap right here. The shutter opens and closes to let light onto the sensor, which is further back in the body of the camera. This is a pretty delicate part of the camera, so you want to make sure when you're not using the camera, or if a lens isn't mounted to the camera, that this cap stays on to protect the shutter and the sensor from dust and dirt. When your camera is on and you press down on your shutter button, the shutter opens and closes like so. The speed at which this shutter opens and closes is called, get ready for it, the shutter speed. Now, the shutter speed is something you're actually able to adjust, but this is something we'll cover later, so don't worry. Here you have the viewfinder, and this isn't really used for videography as we use the LCD screen on the camera to monitor our image, but for photos, this is used all the time. On the side here is where you have the slots where you insert your SD card or cards, and underneath that is the battery compartment. On the other side of the camera, there are quite a few little doors. There's a HDMI port, which can be used to connect a larger external screen or monitor to view your image. There's also a USB-C port, which you can use to charge your camera, and an even smaller multi-port, which I'm not gonna lie to you, I've never used. There's a headphone jack to connect your headphones and an audio jack to plug in a microphone. If you look underneath your camera body, there's a singular screw. This is where you can attach a tripod by screwing the tripod base plate to the bottom of the camera and then sliding that onto the head of the tripod. There's also quite a few dials on your camera. Don't be overwhelmed because soon your fingers will know exactly where to go and what button to use. And as a reminder, I'm going to go over all of these features in detail in a few videos time. This dial at the front controls your aperture, and the one at the back controls your shutter speed. This kind of dual dial here allows you to choose whether you want to take photos or whether you'd like to take videos. And the dial on top of it allows you to choose any preset settings for those. So if, for example, you've created a preset shutter speed, ISO, and aperture, you can quickly flick over to this. And this means that rather than having to manually adjust all of your settings, you'll already have them selected and ready to use just by flicking over to this setting. And this is really helpful if you're flicking between video and photo mode on your camera at a shoot. On top of the camera, you have what's called a cold shoe mount. This is a place where you can mount external devices like monitors or on-camera microphones. Now, let's look at the buttons. So we're going to go into what all of these buttons mean in a later video, and most of them can be customized to do whatever you want them to, but here's a general overview of the super important ones. This is your playback and multimedia view, so here you can view any photos or videos that you've taken, and right next to it is the trash button. So if you don't like an image, you can delete it here right away. To avoid accidental deletions though, I like to never touch this and instead delete the files later on from my computer. This is a menu button where you can find all of your camera settings and information. And this dial is like your on-screen navigation, so you can scroll up or down and move through the settings or images that you've taken. When you're not in the menu, clicking in any direction on this dial brings up different settings. So if you click up, you can flick through all the different on-screen displays, making viewable some, all, or none of your camera settings, so you can see what settings you're using at any given time. If you click to the right, you'll bring up your ISO. More on that later. These buttons that have C1, C2, and so forth are custom buttons, meaning you can set them to do whatever you like. As you film more, you may want quick access to, a particular setting or function, and you'll realize that over time, and you can customize this button to quickly select those settings. This is the function button, and it brings up like a small menu of important items that are helpful for videographers to have quick and easy access to, rather than having to go into a menu and then scrolling through an entire menu of items. I use this button probably the most on my camera. The AEL button, aka your auto exposure lock, is in the top right here, and it allows you to lock your current exposure settings, and to be honest, I've never used it. AF on stands for autofocus, and it turns your autofocus on and off. And this little knob thing below it is a way for you to move the focus square to find the exact place on an image that you want the focus set to. I use this quite a bit, but mainly when I'm taking photos. So those are the main parts of your camera. Your first lesson is done. Now we'll start moving into specific settings, so look for video 2 in our Camera Basics course.